Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Burritt. Welcome to the ACO's A Different Kind of Psychiatry case presentation webinar. We're glad to have you. Today's presentation is entitled A Young Woman Emerges from a Psychotic Abyss, presented by Dr. Salvatore Iacobello.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Dr. Iacobello.
Thank you, Dr. Barrett.
Dr. Iacobello is a board-certified psychiatrist and a clinical associate of the ACO. He's in private practice in Fairfield, Connecticut, and he's an assistant editor of the Journal of Ergonomy, where he has also published articles on clinical and social ergonomy. Dr. Iacobello, I'm excited to start, but I want to let the audience know that they can type in questions into the Q&A section anytime during the webinar, and then we'll get to them at the end. So Dr. Iacobello, this presentation has a wonderful title, A Young Woman Emerges from a Psychotic Abyss. So if we can, let's just jump in and maybe you can tell us, who is this young woman and how did she come to you for treatment?
Well, Kate, she's a young woman who a few years ago came to see me for the first time. It was just before the COVID pandemic. At that time, she was not working. And when she came, she told me she had a history of schizophrenia since childhood. She had not been receiving any treatment up to the time she came to see me, except for taking some medication that had been prescribed to her when at least 10 years earlier she had required to go to the hospital. And she wanted to receive better treatment and possibly to be able to overcome her symptoms and do better in her life.
So Dr. Iacobello, I'm really curious to hear what your first appointment was like with her, what she said was bothering her that she was looking for treatment from.
Well, the first appointment was, I would say, was a positive session. She was able to go right away to what was bothering her. And I felt like she was very likable and she had many strengths. So I felt I could work with her and try to help her.
Could you tell us a little bit about what she looks like and just what it was like first meeting her?
Well, she's above average height. She's not overweight, dark hair. She was wearing dark clothes. There was something unusual in the way she dressed. Probably the way she sees herself is being a little quirky, as she says sometimes. And what struck me was that she was moving very slowly, and it appeared like she was in a dreamy state, showing no much emotions or feelings. There was a general rigidity about her. On the other side, she seemed to be pleasant at the same time, and she seemed to have a good understanding of what was happening to her.
So what was it that was bothering her?
Well, at the time she came to see me, she was very depressed. She was discouraged, and she felt that she was going to fall back into her psychosis. She had lost her job. She told me that at her job, she had eventually revealed that she was having problems with anxiety and was having panic attacks. I think what happened was that there must have been an occasion when she became overwhelmed that she was having a panic attack. So she had to reveal that. And then she felt after that she was not being treated the same. And eventually she was let go. She had an interesting job, I assume. She was working actually for a well-known museum, and she was to be in charge of the events organization. So at that point, she eventually left, or she was let go from a job, and she had become very depressed. She was not functioning at that point.
And how old is Kate?
Well, now she must be in her early 40s. When she came to see me, maybe she was 38. I think it was 3 years ago. It was before the pandemic.
And so how did you connect with her? How did you engage with her from the beginning?
Well, I listened to her and I took her seriously. First of all, she was talking of not wanting to take medications. And I could understand that. She actually had been taking only one medication for many years, and the medication was being prescribed by her primary care. Mm-hmm. Then she shared with me some of her experiences that made her feel like she didn't belong to this world, that she was weird, and also that nobody liked her. And that eventually will lead her to feel suicidal. She was having experiences where she felt, let's say, that people could read her mind, and that also she could read other people's mind. And at times she felt that people could have been demons. And in the past, she had episodes of breaking down when she had completely withdrawn. And this was something that made her feel like there was something deeply wrong with her. So the understanding I gave to her was that indeed these thoughts she was having were reflecting deep feelings that she had, but at the same time, it was understandable that most people didn't understand her, as she felt lonely. So at that point, I think on several occasions she may have become tearful, and I would just let her express whatever feeling she was having. I felt that on the one side she was very sensitive. On the other side, I also felt that she was very smart, and actually she could have been a talented woman. She was very much interested in art, and at that point she was struggling also with not knowing what to do. She didn't have a source of income.
Dr. Iacobello, when she told you that she's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, was that immediately apparent to you when she was talking about being able to read other people's minds and seeing?
Yeah, it was apparent to me, also based on the childhood history that she described. She always had been a loner. She never had fit in the group. She never was fitting well into a family. She was recalling feeling strange, acting differently, and she was very hard on herself for all those things. At a certain point, she would say that she felt that she was ruining her family life because she was the one who never fit in her family. Now, she has two siblings who are adults too now. And actually, I'm remembering she said that her family would call her Eeyore.
Eeyore, the donkey?
Yeah, the donkey from Winnie the Pooh.
Uh-huh.
That's who she was. And she had been going on through her childhood and her adolescent years in that way, although never feeling like she fit in and being very depressed. So then in her early 20s, she ended up having a breakdown and she made a suicide attempt by overdose, and she required to be hospitalized.
Dr. Iacobello, the way you described it was that internally there was so much going on, even early on in her life, but that her family and maybe other people around her only saw part of it, maybe that more depressive Eeyore attitude, but they didn't know the other aspects of it. Is that accurate?
I think that's very accurate. She wouldn't share with people the way her mind was working and how her perception were different from anybody else. At least that's how she felt. In fact, I think it was at the first session, she told me that she felt that she had a blockage in perception. Now, what I saw was that she was very deep in her thinking and her perceptions, and she could see probably people better than the average person, but at the same time, this perception she had were disorganized, and it was like her personality was broken or split in different parts. She couldn't integrate her perceptions, and that will lead her then to become hopeless, very hard on herself, and be at risk of disintegrating.
Dr. Iacobello, the way you say that, it makes me think of, she's seeing demons in the world. And the way I hear it is that she's seeing some of the evil, the rage that's around her, and can only connect with that part of it, or becomes distorted when she interacts with other people, and it becomes terrifying and hopeless, but she's not seeing the full picture.
Right. That was one of the aspects that were like a constant in her life, because she couldn't see the whole picture. She couldn't see things in perspective. She would end up thinking that the only solution was to disappear. Now, the other thing is, in college, she may have become very delusional when, in one way or another, she became a part of a Christian cult. And at that point, she ended up believing that she was some special spirit or special soul, and that she had a mission in her life that was to go to the underworld and save the damned souls. And it took a lot of time before she could come out of that.
Oh, wow. What was her parents involved when this was going on when she was in high school and college?
I uh, I'm not entirely clear how much her parents were involved with this. What at this time, or at least since when I've seen her, her parents had not been involved. Well, they moved to a different state. Her siblings are also in other states, so she's alone here.
Hmm.
And she says she has a good relationship with her parents, but it's clear that she feels she doesn't fit in the family, and she's different. Uh, Another belief she has is also that uh, wherever she is, bad things may happen. She she has the belief that she is somebody who can carry curses with her. And
Curses? She
she,
carries curses with her.
yeah,
Hmm.
and she actually feels that people around her may know about that, and she feels that people keep the distance from her.
Did that come up with you interacting with her? Did she get worried that you could read her mind, or she became paranoid around you? Did that come up?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because actually we've been talking about that, but she sees me different than other people. So in some ways, she was not really clear about that, because the way she answered was, well, you are different, you are a professional, you are looking to help me and understand me. So she was not direct in that question, but she has said that on several occasions, that she feels like she really can see what people are feeling, or what people are thinking. She also feels that people can do it with her, and
Hmm.
they can know that there is something about her that is no good. That's how she sees it. So uh, she she also feels, she gave me an example once of what happened once to her. This was when she was working as an event organizer. She was having a disagreement with uh, the the people above her about how to organize an event, and she felt that what they were doing was wrong, but the high up didn't care about that. They just wanted to get the event going, even if that's what was going to cause problems with somebody else. And she says that she had a discussion with them. She didn't have any choice. And then what happened, the next thing that happened was the whole setup. It was two events, right? This is how it was. There were two events supposed to happen. So they wanted the setup for the second event to be ready during the first event. Of course, that was not appropriate. So what happens is that the setup or the second event got completely broken and damaged. So I don't know how that happened. So then they were astonished. Right now, they didn't have any choice then to do things the right way. So as she told the high up, I don't have anything to do with it. And she was told, yeah, you didn't have anything to do with it. So she didn't do anything about that, but she takes that as an example that she may carry some special power
Hmm.
around her that causes things to happen.
I see. And so, Dr. Iacobello, how did you help her? What did you do in her therapy?
Well, first thing I felt is she needed somebody who would listen to her and could understand her and, could let her know that what she was experiencing was not just being crazy or on the other side, having some biochemical abnormality, but that what she was feeling in reality expressed the feelings that she had inside her, and that she was right some way in some way and somewhere, but we needed to help her to deal with these feelings and to move on. So I think that was very helpful for her. And then the other thing is, I gave her the opportunity of express whatever feelings she may be having at the moment. There were times when she would break down and crying. She also had a lot of fear of disintegrating, fear that she would lose her mind. And when I could, because you cannot do this all right away, the patient needs to be educated and moved along to be able to tolerate more emotions. So I will ask her to try to express the fear and feel it. Her eyes appear to be very tense, and the pupils dilated with fear or angst in her eyes. So I helped her when she could to release some of this fear. And it looked like that's what was helpful. In some way, she engaged in therapy. And now I've seen her for more than 3 years. We may be going into 4 years. And I think overall she's doing much better.
Dr. Iacobello, the way you described kind of paying attention to her, I imagine that when you were trying to help her connect with her fear, for instance, you would have to be very sensitive to her sensitivity of knowing when would be too much, when she would need encouragement, and kind of balance on that tightrope of where is she, and what she needs at any one moment and any one day in a therapy session.
Yeah, I think, not only with her, but in therapy in general, you need to be very sensitive to where the patient is and what the patient can tolerate or not. And I could say, I could have been more aggressive from the point of view of biophysical work, but I always have been respecting her limits and make sure that she is not going to break now. Because the other side is that, she indeed looks like being fragile, like she can break at any moment.
Her terror and fear of disintegrating, there's truth to that, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, there is truth, because she could be completely overwhelmed with these deep feelings, and she could easily attempt suicide again, or she could act in a very irrational or even a violent manner. In fact, she recalls there must have been a few episodes where she may have been very angry and caused problems with the people around her, although she has told me only a few of them. She may be still resistant to reveal the kind of episodes where she may get angry for little reason or for no reason and create a scene. I know one where she had a boyfriend at the party, and the boyfriend was talking to another girl, and she went there. She lost it. She was very, very angry. I don't know if she may even. I don't remember if she may have even punched her boyfriend, or and so I think she may have had a few episodes like that
Oh, wow.
have happened to her.
Did you ever have concerns about her becoming psychotic and aggressive with you in therapy?
Not with me, but I have had concerns about her being alone and either becoming suicidal or having a full psychotic break. And from the beginning, I told her that it was very important that she was going to be safe, and that if she felt like she wanted to harm herself, I wanted her to let me know. And she agreed to this. I told her that she could call me anytime if she felt she was going to break down. And I think that there have been 2 occasions when she just called me because she was feeling very overwhelmed and she didn't know what to do. One episode happened recently where she was starting to have these feelings about people. She felt like she was not going to be able to stay at work. She wanted to leave. She didn't know what to do. But then she called me, and actually, it looked like it would have been better for her to stay at work, and she was able to do that.
Very good. Dr. Iacobello, how was it? You mentioned that she kind of looked at you differently from the beginning. You know, you're a professional that's here to help me. But how did you develop the initial trust that she had with you that maybe just was built on that first phone call and that first appointment? How did you develop that over time?
Well, I think at the beginning, what brought her to me, there was the fact that she knew that the treatment I could give her was not based on medications, and that I could help her to try to understand herself, and maybe her understanding was that I will use alternative treatments. That was one thing. Also, she had been involved in the past in different kind of treatments that she still may be involved in. She had been, she was doing meditation and yoga and Reiki, and actually at a certain point, she may have been involved in some forms of shamanic treatments. Now, that's how she was coming to me. I understood this as being her tendency to go into becoming mystical and running away from her emotions. And I didn't feel that this may have been actually a good thing for her, because my goal was to always try to ground her or in reality. And this was, I think, it was a difficult balance I had to keep, because on the one side, if I would have been discouraging her from these forms of treatments, that may have turned her off. But at the same time, I wanted to help her to see that this may not be such a good thing for her, because she indeed already had a tendency to to go off and dissociate. But I think this now is much reduced, and she's not doing the shamanic groups any longer, and that were bringing up to have very deep dreams and experience that could have been disintegrating. And now she's not doing that. Maybe she's doing a little Reiki, but at the same time, I think she's being able to see how she runs into these practices when she's having problems in her life.
Dr. Iacobello, so she knew from the beginning that you prescribed medicine, but that wasn't the entire focus of your treatment. She understood medical orgone therapy, or she had just some understanding?
Well, she didn't understand the specific of it. I think she just had that general understanding that I could offer her something else based on the profile I have on the internet.
I see.
But she didn't know about medical organ therapy, and even today there's been not much opportunity really to introduce her to the therapy. I mean, in an intellectual way, but
Yes.
practically we are working as much as possible using.
So, what is the role of medicine in her treatment?
Well, the medicine is she's still on the same medicine. I never had to do to make any changes. The medicine, a small dose of an antipsychotic, she had been taking it for years. Even more than 1 year into treatment with me, I never prescribed it to her. Only later on, I took over the prescribing of it. So I think we are looking forward that she may be at the point where I can decrease the dose slightly and see how she does. And we have been close to that on several occasions, but then there have been some crises in her life, so I have elected not to make any changes.
I like that you said that, Dr. Iacobello. It's not that you're for medicine or against medicine, but you're paying attention to where Kate is and what she needs, and with the understanding that she wants to be off of it, but you have to see if she's capable of being off of it.
Yeah, I think this is very, very important. At this time, overall, she's doing quite well, but I'm not sure that she's aware of that, or she can completely see that. And this has to do with a lack of perspective and not being able to integrate the different aspects or area of her experience. What's in her mind is all her nightmarish world, and the possibility of going down the abyss, I would say. But so what she's doing, she doesn't see it. Now she was able to obtain a job.
Oh, yeah?
She's doing very well in the job.
What is she doing now, Dr. Iacobello?
Well, she works for a bank. I think she started at the call center for the bank, but now she has been moved to more responsible positions. In fact, she can be pretty good. Not only that, but she has had the opportunity to express her artistic interest. In fact, she was asked to produce the newsletter and to illustrate it. And now the last thing she's doing is she has designed, I have not seen them, but she has designed the T-shirts for the company. And art has been very important for her to actually keep her out of the abyss. In fact, at the time when she was homebound, she was not working, I, I very much encouraged her to focus on her art. She paints. She uses different materials, and she has showed me some of her painting. And the paintings are very, she uses dark colors, and they are, we say, very nightmarish, very dark in content. In some way, she's expressing the turmoil that she lives in. So I very much encouraged her to keep painting. She also had the other project of writing a book for children and illustrate it. And actually, she was able to finish that.
Wow.
And now the book is on Amazon. So it's a very nice book. I like the illustration.
So, Dr. Iacobello, what you're talking about is not just dealing with her troubles and some of her symptoms, but helping her healthy nature to come out. What's deep inside of her that she enjoys and finds pleasure in?
Yes, I think that's has been very important in her treatment, and help her to see that, because her lack of perspective, that, as you know, it's a function of ocular segment armoring. A lack of perspective leads her to not see anything else, but just to see the bad nature in herself, in the world. So that is like a constant work that one has to do to put her in touch with all the positive aspects.
Yes. And when you talk about working with her eyes in perspective, is that through talking? Is that on the therapy couch? How did you do that?
Well, talking can help, because you, in some way, you help the person to look at the whole picture and not just focus on one thing. You help the person to see all the forest instead of just the tree. But also, I've been working biophysical with her eyes, by having her showing feelings in her eyes, looking around the room, following a pen light. When has been possible, when the fears come up, I have tried to feel the fear in her eyes and express them. A few times I have worked on her occipital area, that is very sensitive and very tender.
The back of her head?
Yeah, in the back of her head. And that way she can release some of the blocked emotions.
So, Dr. Iacobello, when she was working with you and she was out of work and then obtained a new job and worked her way up, was that something she was struggling with? It just kind of came together? Were there specific problems that came up? I'm curious to hear.
Well, she struggled a lot with it, because first of all, she was not happy about the job. She felt that that's not what she's meant for. So she wanted to express her artistic nature. Now she was working for a bank. So she saw that in a very negative way. At the same time, she understood that she needed to work for financial reasons, but also because she needed something to be able to occupy her mind and be around people. So eventually she very much dragged her feet, in being able to get into the job She was very worried, scared at the beginning, but then she saw that she was doing well. Actually, she was doing better than the other trainees.
Huh.
So I had, in some ways, she needed a lot of support.
Constant perspective on how she's
Yeah.
actually doing.
Yeah. And I think that was the time too when everything was happening through the internet. And I think I may have seen quite for some time just by video sessions.
Dr. Iacobello, you said she designed T-shirts for the company.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, that must have caused some kind of engagement between her and her coworkers. And do you know how she perceived that engagement?
Well, she perceived as this way. Okay, well, they like what I do, and they are nice to me, but still, I don't think they understand me. They know there is something wrong with me, that I'm kind of weird, that I don't fit in. And that's the way, she's easy. She sees herself as an outsider. Actually, that's something she's struggling with because she doesn't have friends. Some friends she had, she feels they are against her. Now, I don't know how much that is based in reality or is also expression of her paranoia, or it can be both. So that has led her to be isolated. And right now, she has only her boyfriend, with whom there are also problems, and that's where she's struggling at this time.
I see. In what way?
Well, she feels that the relationship is not working the way she would like. She wants more from the relationship. A boyfriend seems not to be forthcoming or meeting her needs. And this is causing a lot of turmoil for her. And now she's caught in a very ambivalent situation. On the one side, she would like to leave him. But on the other side, she's not sure if she can make it by herself. There was an occasion, I think, when she moved out, but then they got back together. So this is where she's struggling right now.
You know, what strikes me as you're saying that, Dr. Iacobello, is how important it is to understand a patient's character. You know, when something like that comes up, do you say anything about the relationship? Do you encourage them at all in any way? Do you let them figure it out? But the way I heard what you said is to understand her fragility and actually how dependent she can be at times. That would have to be in your mind when you're working with her about this problem.
Yes, you had to keep that in consideration. And I think, indeed, probably would be better for her to leave the boyfriend, because I think she wants to have more for herself, and she can be at a higher level of functioning. But at the same time, I don't know if at this time she would be able to do that. So I would say we are in a transition phase at this time.
Yes. And yeah. Dr. Iacobello, you mentioned she had a suicide attempt before you met her that led to her hospitalization years ago. Has that come up?
You mean talking about the past suicide attempt,
no,
or feeling again like feeling suicidal again? I think it came up once. It may have been 1.5 years ago, when she was feeling suicidal again, but she called me, and I think we had some extra sessions, and then she was able to come out of that. But now I think she knows better. She's starting to see how much better she can do, and how indeed she's enjoying her life. And what gets on the way of that is that for her, all this is just fake. It doesn't count. This is not what life is. Life is always hell and turmoil. What's the use of living this? This doesn't really matter. And then she also believes in universal effort. She believes that everything that happens in the world is connected, and people are connected, and therefore the suffering that there is a suffering that affects her too, and that how can she be happy about these things if the world is the tragic place that it is.
Wow. While you're talking, Dr. Iacobello, it reminds me of a patient who does not have paranoia and hallucinations, but he's incredibly sensitive. And he's described a lot of these similar feelings of feeling like totally disconnected from the world, like lost at sea. But then he has this other part, and I'm curious if she has this too, which is she can go for a walk, or a hike out in nature. And he's just like, the world is a beautiful place. And it, like, when he said that to me the first time, it was like, oh my God, like he's right. Like, and it's like helped me open up to, oh my God, you can be dulled and miss the beauty of the world. And has she been able to access that part, in her artwork and her book that she...
I don't have a recollection. I don't have a recollection of that. But I can understand that that's can be an experience that people who have this particular condition, or who have schizophrenic symptoms, they may experience these. I'll call them sublime or cosmic feelings. And then not only that, that makes me think that, on reviewing the case, I've been doing some reading, and I have read the part of Reich's case on the schizophrenic split, and I can see the similarities in my patient with what Reich was describing in his writing. I think it's all there. It's like, indeed you see the same things. It's not that you cannot make up these things. They are there. And if you observe with an open mind, you can see this manifestation.
If I'm hearing you accurately, are you talking about how working with someone with schizophrenia, they can be acutely sensitive and they can be aware of what we call armor, like your patient saying how she has this block in perception? It's like, on one hand, they get it and they perceive things so well that they can get things that very few people can. On the other hand, it becomes so distorted that most people don't understand it. But with our training, you can hear, through the fog or through the noise, and really connect with these patients. Is that?
Yes, I think that's correct, and that's also Reich describes that too in his writing. He talks along those terms about schizophrenia and schizophrenic patients.
Yeah. Dr. Iacobello, I really like how you allowed her voice her concerns about medicine, because even talking about your therapy, that's uncommon these days. It's very common to have almost all of the focus in a patient who suffers from schizophrenia to be about medicine and how often they take the medicine and never missing doses, as if it's just reminding someone, well, if you don't take your blood pressure medicine, you're going to have a stroke, as if it's just like that, to ignore how long it may take to build the trust for this patient, for instance, to even know that you may need a higher dose because right now, your psychotic symptoms are worsening. And I imagine that's all been in the back of your mind while you're treating this young woman.
Yeah, it has been. And the problem with that is that, you see, the experience and the feelings of the patients don't count there. They are discounted. It's just a disturbance.
It's just crazy hallucination.
It can be crazy, or it can be a biochemical disturbance that needs to be fixed. And in part, in the background, my patient, I think, has some belief along those lines that there is something biochemically wrong with her, and that she's so unfortunate. But by doing that, is like you don't see the patient and what they are going through, while our work is to help them see what's happening and put things in the right perspective, and then helping her to tolerate emotions and express them. And it can be very relieving.
Maybe you could highlight that for the audience, how you see the importance of connecting with and tolerating emotions, and how that can help a patient with schizophrenia, because I think that's worth underscoring.
Well, I think what that does is decreases the terror, because now they can feel that you can have those emotions, but you are not necessarily going to be annihilated. You have somebody else with you next to your bedside who is walking you through this, and who also can tolerate those emotions. I think that's of basic importance in therapy. The emotions don't have to destroy you or kill you, but you can go through that. And there are people who indeed are there and can do it, and you can survive.
Yes, well said. Dr. Iacobello, is there anything else you'd like to say about Kate's story, or anything at all to the audience before we wrap up?
Well, what I would like to say is that I think she's a great woman, and she has a lot of strengths, and I hope she will do much better and can achieve her goals. That's what I would like to say. The other thing is, I want to be able to transmit the ergonomic understanding of schizophrenia. I think that's a very important point.
Yes. Well, Dr. Iacobello, this has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you for your time.
Welcome, Dr. Perry.
And thank you to the audience for joining us today. And a special thank you to the donors of the ACO who make our work possible. I hope you'll join us for our next webinar, which will be in April. It will be Saturday, April 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be presented by Dr. Jackie Bosworth, and it's entitled, "A Single Encounter Had an Incredible Effect on a Teenage Boy." In the meantime, I hope you'll check out the Journal of Ergonomy and our podcast, A Different Kind of Psychiatry. Thank you.